Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our meeting. Thank you, Chair Day. I'd like to call the Committee on Educational Policy to order. We'll now invite public comment regarding educational policy items that are on the agenda today. We have two speakers lined up, Garrick Wilhelm and Ejmin Hakobian. If either of you can come to the podium or the microphone to speak. And remember to introduce yourself, please.
Hi, my name is Garrick Wilhelm, and I'm Vice President of External Affairs for Associated Students at San Francisco State University. I'm graduating with a Bachelor of Arts in Communication Studies next week and will be entering grad study in the same department next fall. I'll be speaking to you during public comment in various meetings over the next 2 days about issues of importance to San Francisco State University. The CSU system provides amazing opportunities for people like me to realize our inherent potential to contribute to a greater society. I know how much this has meant to me, and I can't imagine multiplying that by the nearly 500,000 students who are served by the CSU each year. While there are many benefits to having a large system that serves 23 campuses throughout California, it also means that systemic problems can start from small decisions centrally and affect students throughout the state. While this body provides oversight, even small day-to-day decisions made by Chancellor's Office staff can mean systemic injustices for students who are already struggling with the efforts to complete a college education. As we look at mounting issues of college affordability, student homelessness, and food insecurity, mental health crises, and barriers to completing a degree in a timely manner for some students more than others, we must not overlook the systemic influences. At San Francisco State, our Masters in Public Health students are embarking on a year-long study on student homelessness on our campus in hopes of discovering the scope of the problem, its causes, and what interventions may help. Research is an important part of graduate studying the CSU, but it won't really address the systemic issues that are being caused by the system-wide policies and decisions. It is time for the Board of Trustees to hold its administrators responsible for the trust that we place in them. Administrators for large system of education need to understand that their decisions are the cause of these systemic problems. I'll be sharing more about these issues in public comment over the next 2 days in the context of the system that you oversee. I'm grateful for the opportunities provided to me by the CSU, and it is with this reverence that I plead for improvements in the system to benefit the future students and the potential that they have to create a more prosperous California.
Great, thank you very much, Mr. Wilhelm. Mr. Hakobian, are you here? Okay, thank you very much for taking time to speak to the committee. It's now time for the committee to consider the consent agenda, which today is basically the minutes from the last meeting. Any comments on the meeting, the minutes from our March gathering? Trustee Carney?
Mr. Chair, could I pull that item? I believe Trustee Abrego would like to make some comments.
Very well. Trustee Abrego, comments on the minutes, please.
Yes, I would like the minutes to reflect the recommendation that I offered the board to invite representatives from the Ed Trust West and the Campaign for College Opportunity to provide them an opportunity to express their strategies and their thinking about the additional fourth year of math.
Very well. As you know, Trustee Abrego, that's going to be an information item in July. But I do remember you saying that, and I remember endorsing that idea. So who do we turn to make the adjustment to the minutes? Normally I would turn to Mrs. Kiss, but Dr. Blanchard, who? Andy.
We could just make sure that if you could vote to approve the minutes as amended, and then we will make the amendment consistent with Trustee Abrego's comments.
Very well. So members of the committee, we have a suggestion to amend the minutes that we more appropriately reflect Trustee Abrego's comments in March that I endorsed. If members are comfortable with that, we'll take a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
I move the minutes as amended.
We have a motion and a second. Very well. Any comments on the amended minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed or abstained? Thank you very much. All right, now we will move into, we have 3 information items today on very robust subjects. Item 2, our first information item is on graduate education at the CSU. It'll be presented by Lauren Blanchard, our Executive VP and Provost, Allison Wren, our Interim Assistant Vice Chancellor for Academic Programs, and then a couple of visitors from our Chico campus, Colleen Milligan, a professor, and Mallory Peters, a graduate student. So Dr. Blanchard, please begin.
Thank you so much, Chair Taylor, and good morning, Board of Trustees. At recent board meetings, we have focused primarily on topics related to the undergraduate experience. However, the CSU also offers a number of high-quality, cost-effective graduate programs that provide opportunities for California's diverse population. In keeping with the university's mission, graduate programs offered through the CSU are responsive to both regional and statewide workforce needs and prepare students to be competitive in the expanding 21st century economy. I will now invite Dr. Allison Wren, Interim Assistant Vice Chancellor for Academic Programs and Faculty Development, to provide an overview of graduate education at the CSU. Dr. Wren?
Thank you, Dr. Blanchard. Graduate programs are taking on larger significance, both for individuals and for California's economy. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the average worker with a master's degree will net an additional $12,000 or more per year than individuals with only a bachelor's degree. As shown on this slide, the need for individuals with an advanced degree is projected to grow. On the left of the chart, we see 16 career paths that require a master's degree. The red bars show how much growth and demand there will be for these professionals by 2027. For example, by 2027, there will be a 35% growth in demand for nurse practitioners and statisticians in California. This equates to 4,600 new nurse practitioner positions and 1,500 new positions for statisticians. Based on the California Master Plan for Higher Education, the primary mission of the CSU is to offer undergraduate education and graduate instruction through the master's degree. The CSU is authorized to offer independent doctoral degrees in areas where there is an identified workforce or accreditation need that may not be fulfilled through existing educational opportunities in California. Currently, this includes the Doctor of Education, the Doctor of Nursing Practice, the Doctor of Physical Therapy, and the Doctor of Audiology. Additionally, the CSU is authorized to offer joint degree programs with the University of California or with one or more accredited independent institutions of higher education in California. Examples of these partnerships include a joint PhD in special education between CSU Los Angeles and UCLA, and a PhD in public health between San Diego State University and UC San Diego. CSU enrollments reflects the university's mission. In fall 2017, more than 484,000 students were enrolled in baccalaureate degree programs, nearly 40,000 in master's programs, and just over 2,000 in doctoral programs. We also have many students who do not fit neatly into the category of graduate student or undergraduate student. These are students who have completed their undergraduate studies and are seeking their teaching credentials. As you can see from the slide, nearly 11,000 students were enrolled in credential programs in the CSU in fall 2017. These credential-seeking students may also be reflected in the enrollment count for master's degrees, as the CSU offers both preparation for a teaching credential and master's programs in education. You will hear more on teacher preparation later in this presentation and in the next one. In 2017-18, more than 105,000 students earned bachelor's degrees from the CSU. In the same year, nearly 20,000 students earned master's degrees and 556 earned their doctorate. In California, 25% of the master's degrees awarded are awarded by the CSU, as shown in red. In comparison, 15% are awarded by the UC, shown in blue, and the remainder are awarded by private, for-profit, and not-for-profit institutions, shown in gray and yellow. As Dr. Blanchard mentioned, the CSU's master's degree disciplines are reflective of areas where there are current and future workforce needs. In fact, the CSU offers a master's program for each of the regional workforce needs that were shown on slide 2. The CSU currently offers 1,632 master's degree options, concentrations, and programs. Beyond the traditional Master of Arts and Master of Science degrees, we offer 23 other types of master's degrees, such as the Masters of Business Administration, Fine Arts, and Education. The full list is included in the board item. On this slide, you can see the top 10 CSU master disciplines by enrollment. The discipline with the highest enrollment, just over 8,000 students, is education. This demonstrates the CSU's ongoing commitment to preparing California's future education leader workforce. Additionally, CSU master's programs provide advanced training in a number of areas vital to the California economy, including engineering, health-related professions, and computer and information sciences. Program quality is of primary importance for CSU graduate programs. Degree programs that are eligible for accreditation from a national accrediting body are expected to seek such accreditation. All graduate degree programs undergo regularly scheduled campus-based program review, typically every 5 years, and are assessed by faculty on a continual basis. Graduate education in the CSU continues to adapt to the needs of the 21st century learners. For example, 17 CSU campuses offer master's programs at satellite locations, such as school districts, downtown centers, and county offices, making it easier for working professionals to take courses. And the CSU currently offers 95 online master's degree programs. As shown on this slide, the largest number of programs are offered in business and management, followed by education, the health professions, and public affairs. One such program that is offered completely online is the Master of Library and Information Science at San Jose State University. 9% of all library science degrees awarded in the country are awarded through this program, with approximately 500 graduates each year. And when compared to the top 5 institutions that award library science degrees nationwide, San Jose State's program is the most affordable. Students who earn their Master of Library and Information Science at San Jose State face strong job prospects in California. The need for librarians in the state is anticipated to grow by 10% by 2027. This is reflective of a need for traditional librarianship roles and the changing trends in library services that are a result of our increasingly digital world. Graduates pursue multiple career paths and are currently employed as digital forensic experts, taxonomists, and information architects. For example, a recent graduate now serves as the museum curator for the 49ers football team, and another as a digital asset librarian for Instacart, an online grocery company. In addition to addressing current and future workforce needs, CSU graduate programs are also incubators for future faculty members, many of whom come back to teach in the CSU. The CSU pre-doctoral program and the Chancellor's Doctoral Incentive Program provide support to undergraduate and graduate students as they prepare for and undertake doctoral education. The California Pre-Doctoral Program was started in 1989. It is designed to increase the pool of potential CSU faculty by supporting the doctoral aspirations of CSU students who have experienced economic and educational disadvantages. In 2018-19, the program awarded funds to approximately 75 CSU students. Selected applicants work closely with a CSU faculty member who helps prepare them for graduate studies. Over the past 5 years, 40% of the program participants have entered fully funded PhD programs at the UCs and other doctoral granting institutions across the United States. The CSU Chancellor's Doctoral Incentive Program is the largest program of its kind in the U.S. Like the pre-doctoral program, CDIP is designed to increase the pool of potential CSU faculty. It offers participants a subsidized educational loan with the potential for loan cancellation if the student, upon completion of their doctorate, becomes a CSU faculty member. To date, more than 60% of CDIP scholars who completed their doctorates are currently serving in faculty positions in the CSU. 23 program alumni serve as department chairs and 24 as administrators, including 7 deans and 1 president, CSU Bakersfield President Lynette Zelesny. Indeed, graduate education in the CSU offers students a high-quality education that both prepares them for the current and future workforce needs and for future positions as CSU faculty. Graduate education also plays a role in supporting undergraduate student success. Graduate students serve as teaching assistants who support student learning and allow campuses to offer additional course sections. Additionally, graduate students provide tutoring and mentoring to undergraduates. Finally, teaching and mentoring graduate students helps keep CSU faculty current in their scholarship and teaching. These opportunities are critical to the retention and recruitment of quality faculty. Graduate students may become assistants and colleagues to faculty in their research projects, supporting faculty in seeking and securing grants and contracts. To share more about the impact of graduate education on both faculty and students, it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Colleen Milligan and graduate student Mallory Peters from CSU Chico. Dr. Milligan?
Hello, my name is Dr. Colleen Milligan. I serve as the graduate coordinator for the Department of Anthropology at Chico State, as well as the co-director for the Human Identification Lab. I'm accompanied today by Mallory Peters, one of our 2019 graduates of the master's program in anthropology. And my background in anthropology is in forensic anthropology, which means I specialize in the recovery and analysis of human remains for law enforcement.
The Department of Anthropology at Chico State encompasses a number of different specialties within anthropology. One of the things that our department prioritizes in our strategic goals is practical and professional experiences for both our undergraduate and graduate students above and beyond the classroom setting. Graduate students make up our forensic recovery teams. They coordinate annually a nationally recognized forensic conference at Chico State and direct short films through our visual anthropology lab. The current group of graduate students also reflects the strength of the California University system, with Sac State, Humboldt State, Cal State Fullerton, and Fresno State as alma maters. I'm a Sac State alumna who successfully finished our master's program this spring, and many of our alumni now serve as professors at schools across the U.S., including Drs. Eric Bartlink and Ashley Kendall, who returned after completing their PhDs to teach at Chico State. We are one of the few schools in the country that offers training in forensic anthropology, and nearly 90% of all of our graduates will move on to a PhD program with funding after completing the degree in our program. I'll be continuing my professional career in a PhD program at SUNY Binghamton in the fall.
Part of the strengths of our program is the Human Identification Lab, or the HIL, at Chico State. We represent the largest forensic anthropology lab in the Western United States. The HIL receives more than 120 cases per year, and our service area covers most of California. As an example of our service to federal agencies, our emeritus faculty, Dr. P. Willie, is the forensic anthropologist who was selected to represent the United States' interest in North Korea in 2016 discussions concerning the return of those killed in action during the Korean War, which resulted in the repatriation of 55 KIAs from the Korean War.
Our graduate students comprise the main professional staff for our Human Identification Lab, including alum Alex Perone, who serves as our lab supervisor. They assist on the analysis of remains in the lab and the recovery of remains in the field, and they also spend a significant amount of time collaborating with faculty on multiple research projects. In 2017, our program was awarded $866,000 by the National Institute of Justice to undertake 3 years of research to create a predictive algorithm for law enforcement that would allow them to locate victims in the Sacramento River faster. This research outcome will be the first of its kind in the U.S., and we're building off of Army Corps of Engineer models so that we can adapt it to any waterway in the U.S. with Army Corps of Engineer data. Graduate students in our program are responsible for the field trials and the primary data collection for this project, and I've served as the main research assistant for the past 2 years.
In addition to casework and research, the Human Identification Lab has responded to several mass fatality events in recent years, including the 2018 Camp Fire. Our team consisted of 39 faculty, staff, graduate students, undergraduate students, and alumni from Chico State who spent 20 consecutive days in the field coordinating the search of 14,000 structures over 239 square miles and recovering all 85 victims of the Camp Fire. When we are called to respond to events like this, our role is to plan and coordinate the recovery operations in a way that helps find victims as fast as possible and also helps ensure that the collection process is as complete as possible to maximize the possibility that we can positively identify every victim of the event. While the Camp Fire is not the first time we've had to respond to mass disaster in our home county, while the Camp Fire is the first time we've had to respond to a mass disaster in our home county, our deployment in this event was not simply because we were the local anthropology team. We are the team for wildfire recoveries. No other team in the United States has as much training or expertise in fire scenes as our teams. It's because we run a graduate program in anthropology and we can put a team of this size, that we are able to provide this service to the state of California in capacity that we do. And it's an emphasis on professional as well as academic experiences with the Cal State system that facilitates this type of lab. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Milligan and Ms. Peters. Graduate education in the CSU continues to grow and evolve. Currently, the CSU is seeking legislative authority to offer an additional independent doctorate in occupational therapy. This is reflective of a national movement by accrediting organizations to distinguish the doctoral level as the appropriate entry point for occupational therapists, in addition to the master's level. The CSU also continues to grow its master's level programs in areas of future workforce need, such as the field of data analytics. Forbes reports that 39% of data science and analytics positions in the future are expected to require advanced degrees. Furthermore, these careers position our graduates for long-term success. Computer and information research scientists with a master's degree had a median annual wage in 2017 of $114,000. Finally, the CSU anticipates the continued growth of online master's programs, providing an opportunity to expand access to these programs for students. I will now return it to Dr. Blanchard for his closing thoughts.
Thank you very much. As you've heard, graduate education plays a critical role in fulfilling the CSU's mission of preparing students for their future workforce and academic endeavors. Graduate students receive a high-quality education while supporting undergraduate student success by providing learning support as teaching assistants, tutors, and mentors. And by offering doctoral and master's degree programs in fields of high workforce demand, the CSU is developing the diverse workforce California and the nation needs for the future. Chair Taylor, this concludes our report. Drs. Wren, Milligan, along with Ms. Peters and I stand ready to answer any questions you might have.
Well, thank you. An absolutely terrific presentation. Just hit all the right notes in many ways. Dr. Milligan, Ms. Peters, members of this board know that I'm a recovering research university snob. And spent a few decades in and around that space thinking we were saving the world. But when I got appointed to this board and I hear your presentation, I realized CSU is really the driving innovators when it comes to providing service to this state and this nation. And your programs are a perfect example of how we're different, in many ways better than what the R1 space does. So thank you very much for your good work in this regard. Members, I have Trustee Sebelius up first, and then Trustee McGrory, and then Trustee Carney, and then Trustee Eisen and Fong. Lots of questions. Good. We'll go around this way.
Good morning. Thank you very much for the great report. I echo the praise of my fellow trustee Taylor for this report, and it's nice to see a report on graduate studies. In our daily deliberations, we often focus mostly on undergraduates, and rightly so, they are 90% of our students. But it was surprising to me to see, after over 20 years in the system, that we produce 25% of the master degrees and more than the UC. So that is something that is quite remarkable. The universities, the Western universities upon which we are modeled, were founded in the 1200s. And a lot of things have changed since then. What has not at all changed in these 800 years are the 3 degree levels that we offer. Back then in 1200, so-and-so, the universities offered bachelor degrees, master degrees, and doctor degrees. After 800 years, we also only offer these 3 degrees. What I would like to see the CSU go in the future is to focus a lot more on a greater offering, a greater flexibility when it comes to degrees, especially post-baccalaureate degrees. And I know that individual campuses have a lot of credential programs, but we are not very well known for that. When somebody goes to college, we ask students, where did you get your BA? Where did you get your master? I would like to see a system-wide move to offer greater flexibility in micro degrees, certificates, credentials, stackable degrees, modules, degree modules. And we will, in the future, we talk a lot about the revolution in the workforce that artificial intelligence will bring about. We had a big replacement of blue-collar workers from their traditional jobs to automation and computers. Artificial intelligence will make many of the jobs obsolete for which we educate our graduates right now. And when we let these students go with a bachelor degree, I think in the future, more than in the past, will have to come back to us to reskill and to upskill. Not everybody will want to enter a full-fledged master or doctorate program. We have to be flexible to offer them these opportunities, and we have to advertise them. I'm sure they exist on various campuses, but even I am not aware on a system-wide level what opportunities there are. And most of the states outside of California have declining student enrollment because of declining high school graduates. We are not there yet, but in the future we might get there. But I think a source of growth for us will be those returning students that will be coming back to us after having received already bachelor degrees from the CSU or elsewhere for that matter. And I think we should prepare ourselves and stand ready to, in 5 years and 10 years down the road, be ready to have excellent programs, to be a leader in reskilling and upskilling for returning students. So I would like, to put this into your head to when we think about the future. I'm very impressed what we do right now with graduate programs, and I thank you for the presentation. But I think we can go a lot further and better and look ahead into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Sebelius. Any comments on this end, or we'll go to the next?
I agree. I'll just comment that through our colleges of professional and continuing education, we already offer a lot of these kinds of post-baccalaureate and postmaster's certificates and credentials. But your point is well taken that we could do more of this, and we certainly could advertise it better. So we'll make a note of that. Thank you.
Okay, let's go to Trustee McGrory and then Trustees Carney, Eisen, and Fong.
Really impressive report from Chico. That was a great report. In the application of your program to real life situations is impressive. What is the demarcation line? We have four PhDs that are authorized by the state legislature and we can do independently, and then there's all these others that have to be done in conjunction with UC. What's the characteristics of these programs that you would either have to partner with UC or go to the legislature and do it independently?
Just to clarify, we're actually not authorized for independent PhDs. We're authorized for an independent Doctor of Education, Doctor of Nursing Practice, Doctor of Audiology, and Doctor of Physical Therapy. So those are professional doctorates, which are professionally based versus the PhD, which is research-based. And so in the California Master Plan for Higher Education, the UC was given the PhD. And when we want to go beyond and ask for authority, we can do joint PhDs with the UCs or other California universities. We have joint PhDs with Claremont University, for example, as well as most of the UCs. We're authorized to do that. If we would like to authorize additional professional doctorates, though, we have to seek legislative authority on a case-by-case basis right now.
Does UC have to do that too?
No, they have full authority for doctoral degrees.
Yeah, they have constitutional independence, so it's easier for them.
Yeah, I know I've heard out of San Diego State the frustration with the process of setting up the PhD programs, and there's some cost to it apparently in terms of the partnerships with the UC schools that may not be necessary. And I guess I question whether or not the CSU system should have a higher level of authority to set up its own PhD programs and not have to do it in conjunction with UC.
Or
Yeah. Right now, we don't have that authority, but the reality is that We have been in conversation with at least two of our campus presidents to establish what would be the process that we would have to follow if we were to begin to seek authority to offer these independent PhD programs, and being clear about the real need for them that would, if you will, stand outside of the need that UC would see, or University of California would see, that they would have in order to offer these. And so it's not that the answer is no. It's the answer is being clear about the process that we would have to follow in order to ensure that we could be successful once we reach the legislature, as well as working with the University of California to make them keenly aware of the fact that we'd want to move in this direction. The other interesting element of this is that we have to keep in mind as well that just as we have interest, some of our campuses have interest in moving forward in offering independent PhD programs. There are a number of community colleges that are equally interested in offering baccalaureate degree programs. And so it's a balance in our thinking in how we approach this. As one door opens, then it is likely that there could be another door that could swing open as well.
I guess I would just strongly encourage the pursuit of those discussions to see what we could do independently where there is a need.
With indulgence of the committee, if I could just tag on to Trustee McGrory's, I endorse, but in a slightly more narrow vein, professional doctorates. I don't know if the state necessarily needs more institutions that produce academic doctorates in Romance languages without a strong case for why there's a workforce need for it. But so let's make sure there's a connection to what goes on outside of the university and the academy to our pursuit in that space.
Yes, that is absolutely the case. And I can say to you that with some of the ideas that have been floated by our respective campuses, that it falls right in line with what you've just described.
Great. Trustee Carney, followed by Trustee Eisen, and then Fong.
My thoughts were kind of along the lines of Trustee McGrory's, and so let me just add one other comment. You know, in areas that in which help to drive the California economy, like the engineering fields and that kind of thing. You know, there are countries like China that admit. I wish I'd looked up the number of students that they have in engineering programs, and you know, as a state, we ought to be paying attention to this. And if there's a demand for more doctorate programs in fields like engineering, then we should not, in my view, be shy about doing the analysis and thinking through how we can help satisfy that need, that statewide need. We have the master plan. We don't want to, muddy the waters too much. But on the other hand, I think there's a real economic need to look at this area. So I would just encourage that also. And then just briefly on the Chancellor's Doctoral Incentive Program, my memory is that that's fun. Don't we fund that with lottery money? Am I?
That is correct.
So when we get around to looking at our uses of the lottery money next time, could we please look at whether or not more money ought to go into this program? Thank you.
Great. I'm sure CFA Relier has noted that comment. Excellent. Trustee Eisen, then Trustee Fong. What did I call him? CFA. Certified Financial Accountant? I don't think that's you. Gotcha. Okay. Trustee Eisen, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Allison, for that report. You mentioned a couple of programs, what you call future faculty programs, one predoctoral and one the CDIP program. I assume that the function of these programs is to sort of home grow some of our faculty and help to diversify our faculty, et cetera. You note that 60% of the CDIP folks do become faculty at the CSU, but I didn't see a similar figure for the predoctoral program. I don't know if we could have that at some point. And then sort of the flip side of that, what percent of our new faculty come out of these programs as opposed to, from some other traditional place. It seems like a great idea to help diversify our faculty to have these homegrown programs, but I'd like to know a little bit more about that. The second thing is I do actually have a graduate degree from a CSU. But I got it so long ago that I can't really remember whether the tuition to get a master's degree is different than the tuition for a bachelor's degree. Do we have a different tuition scale for graduate degrees?
We do, and someone who's more attuned to the financial aspects could tell you what that is, but it is a little bit higher.
Okay, thank you so much.
Trustee Fong, followed by Trustee Farrar.
So some of my questions or comments were already made. I also agreed that applied doctorates are critical for the CSU and for our workforce needs. Certainly from the many of the campus visits that I've been to, that the master's programs that are currently offered are now not as applicable in the workforce, that doctoral programs need to be created for our successful students and their futures. One thing that I wanted to ask about with the California pre-doctoral program, that approximately we have 75 juniors that are going through that program, and it is a remarkable program. How can we have more students go through this? Are we limited by funding?
We are limited by funding. That program is also funded by the lottery. And so 75 covers, each student receives a $3,000 grant to cover some travel and preparation for graduate studies. And then the other bulk of the funds fund students to go conduct a summer research seminar. And we just got an increase this year so that we could up their food and housing budget. And so to add additional students, my director tells me would be approximately $15,000 per student to add students. So it's doable, but it would just have to be a decision in how to use the lottery funds.
So with the additional funding that was requested and you said is being offered, how many more students would that be?
Well, we didn't seek to add students this time because we weren't supporting our current students adequately for when they, say, went off to New York for a summer research fellowship. They didn't have enough money to eat adequately. And so we requested more money to ensure that they could find housing in some of these markets as well as have plenty to eat. And so if we wanted to add students, that would be another additional set of funding.
All right, thank you.
Great, Trustee Farrar.
I'd just like to add my appreciation for the report and how impressive it is, in if we really take it in context, what a short time we've had, even professional doctorates. I was on the board and others were here too, and remember, it was so difficult. It was a tremendous fight to even get the professional doctorates. We were accused of the camel's nose was coming under the tent was a frequent comment, changing the master plan. So to have come this far in this amount of time is indeed impressive. And I too, like Becky, and we're in similar age, I also have a master's degree from the CSU, and I also have a doctorate, and I'm frequently still asked, well, why didn't you go to CSUN for your doctorate too? And it's hard to explain that it wasn't there, and that was a long, long time ago. So, we would love to have more doctorates applied and all and professional, but I just want to comment on how impressive it is that we have even come this far, and congratulations.
Great. Provost Blanchard, some closing remarks on this subject.
Actually, I just wanted to circle back quickly to Trustee Eisen's question about cost of graduate programs in relationship to our baccalaureate programs. I see you have it in front of you, right? So just for the record, in looking at the 2018-2019 tuition levels for undergraduate or baccalaureate degree programs for students who take above 6 hours, it's $5,742 annually. Compared to graduate and other post-baccalaureate programs, it's about $7,176 annually. And if you also consider what I consider to be low cost of doctoral programs in the CSU, they range from annually as low as $11,838 to a high of $17,196. That $17,000 is for the Doctor of Physical Therapy program.
Great. Okay, members, unless there are any other questions, we'll move on to the next agenda item. All right. Thank you, Dr. Milligan. Ms. Peters, thank you very much. Love to hear about your work. Good luck with your future. Okay, we'll move on to our next agenda item number 3. Okay. Our next agenda item is going to be also an information item in recognition of the S.D. Bechtel Jr. Foundation's Investment in Educator program. It'll be presented by the A-team here that's coming up to the podium. Great. We have 4 guest speakers today. Dr. Marquita Greneau-Shire, who's an Assistant Vice Chancellor for Educator Preparation and Public School Programs. We have 2 program officers from the Bechtel Foundation, Susan Harvey and Macy Parker, and a teacher, Nicholas Kurtz. Mr. Kurtz, you teach in a district with a sharp superintendent, I gather. Is that true? All right, Long Beach Unified School District, first rate. Terrific. Dr. Greneau-Shire, please begin.
Thank you, Chair Taylor. Preparing teachers, counselors, and educational leaders to serve the diverse communities in California and the nation has been a bedrock of the California State University mission since its founding. Today's presentation recognizes and celebrates a long-standing partner in the CSU's teacher preparation efforts, the S.D. Bechtel Jr. Foundation. The CSU continues to lead the state and nation in teacher preparation and educational innovations. We prepare nearly 7,800 teachers annually, which equates to 50% of California's teachers and approximately 10% of the country's teachers. And the CSU currently produces the largest number of teachers in the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or STEM fields in the state. The CSU is deeply committed to teacher preparation and the leadership role we play in California. Yet we know that there are immense challenges that we face as a university, state, and nation to ensure that the teacher pathway is flowing today and into the future. During the past decade, the S.D. Bechtel Jr. Foundation has been a thought partner in the university's teacher preparation efforts, investing more than $20 million to help transform teacher education in the CSU. With giving targeted both system-wide and to individual campuses, the foundation has been integral to the CSU's effort to prepare California's next generation of educators. I will now briefly highlight 2 of the largest initiatives supported by the foundation, the Science Teacher and Researcher Program, or STAR, and the New Generation of Educators Initiative. STAR is a system-wide program that was founded at California Polytechnic State University, San Luis Obispo, and supported by the foundation. The program seeks to address the shortfall of science and mathematics teachers in California by developing a new generation of these teachers equipped with the skills to inspire students to choose careers in STEM fields. CSU students who are upper division science, math, and engineering majors teaching credential students planning to teach science or math, and early career science and math teachers are eligible to apply for STAR. Selected applicants are placed in a research laboratory for an internship and provided education seminars and workshops. Through STAR, potential future and current science and mathematics teachers not only receive the experience in a national laboratory, they also foster the development of inquiry-based science teaching and learning strategies which enhance their classroom instruction. The largest CSU program supported by the S.D. Bechtel Jr. Foundation is the New Generation of Educators Initiative, for which the foundation has awarded approximately $15 million to the CSU. As part of this initiative, all CSU campuses that have teacher education programs have developed partnerships with their local school districts that provide hands-on experience for CSU teacher candidates. Teacher candidates receive a year-long clinical placement in a classroom, similar to clinical training in medicine. Together with the classroom teacher, candidates develop curriculum and take increasing responsibility for classroom instruction. While the experience teacher candidates receive reflects the local context and goals, it is based on 5 key transformational elements of teacher preparation. These include forming deep partnerships between campuses and districts, defining the skills, knowledge, and dispositions that are priorities for teacher preparation, providing candidates an opportunity to prepare through doing in school sites, creating a culture of feedback for candidates, and using data to measure progress. In September 2017, the 11 campuses that received the first wave of grant funding submitted reports indicating that the partnerships are having significant impact. A number of partnerships have built placement programs focused on STEM education. 3 campuses have expanded from their initial district partnerships to include additional districts, and other campuses are including professional development and expanded roles for school site teachers. To share more about the impact of the New Generation of Educators initiative, it is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Nicholas Kurtz, a teacher at Star King Elementary School in the Long Beach Unified School District and a former initiative participant. Mr. Kurtz?
Thank you for inviting me here to speak about my educational experience at California State University, Long Beach. I would specifically like to talk about the impact the New Generation of Educators initiative and the Bechtel Grant had on my development as a teacher. Both NGEI and the Bechtel Grant had strong impacts on my learning and the success I'm having in the classroom. To begin, NGEI provided me with a learning community during my education. I was able to gain impactful, meaningful, and real-life experience as a result of the close partnership between CSULB and LBUSD. I was able to gain real-world experience during my courses and apply my learning in real time. Both my professors and the teachers in LBUSD I worked with provided meaningful support and high-quality feedback. Celebrating success and providing constructive criticism allowed my continued growth and helped to develop the skills to be an effective educator. In addition to the partnership between CSULB and LBUSD were the classes, coursework, and observations. All of the classes I participated in at CSULB were designed with high rigor. These classes were structured to support all teacher candidates in the understanding of California state standards and the best teaching practices. Professors, support staff, and fieldwork supervisors all worked together to develop every teacher candidate's teaching ability. We were given clear expectations, a high level of rigor, and the resources needed to accomplish this work. All of the learning that took place prepared us to be effective teachers in any setting. We also had observation hours to complete that allowed us to apply our learning in the context of the classroom. The most impactful element of the observations were getting involved and putting our learning into practice. The Bechtel Grant shifted the traditional framework of student teaching. This shift created a greater sense of community at the student teaching site. Spending the entire 16 weeks at one site allowed for greater collaboration, teacher candidate buy-in, and the ability to see the results. We were able to see our impact on student learning more clearly and had a vested interest in the students' academic results. We were included throughout the school and became members of the school community. This gave us a more holistic view of the teaching requirements, a more authentic teaching experience, and allowed us to feel like integral parts of the team. Staying at one school site also allowed us to build relationships with multiple teachers. This transformed the mentor-teacher template. We had our direct mentor teacher. However, we had multiple teachers provide support. This created more opportunity for insight, perspective, and guidance. The Bechtel Grant helped me secure a job teaching 5th grade at Star King Elementary. I was able to utilize the skills I gained student teaching to gain a full-time substitute position at Starr King Elementary during the second semester of the 2016-2017 school year. I worked with small groups in 2nd, 3rd, and 5th grade. This grew into a full-time teaching position at Starr King. I've had the pleasure of teaching 5th grade the last 2 years. The knowledge I developed, thanks to the Bechtel Grant, has allowed me to implement task-based learning, take risks, learn, and grow each day. I am able to reflect, implement change, and create an effective learning environment for all students in the classroom. I am very thankful for the opportunity awarded to me by the NGEI and the Bechtel Grant. Thank you for allowing me to share my experience here with you today.
Thank you, Mr. Kurtz. I am delighted that we are joined today by representatives from the S.D. Bechtel Jr. Foundation. To share more about the foundation and their decision to support CSU teacher education, I would now like to introduce Susan Harvey, Program Director, and Macy Parker, Senior Program Officer. Susan?
Thank you, Marquita, and thank you to the Board of Trustees. It's an honor to be with you today and a privilege for the Foundation to support your teacher preparation programs. The Foundation's founder, Stephen D. Bechtel Jr., is an engineer by profession and a person with great love for the natural resources of California. He's also a lifelong advocate for children. The Foundation has existed for more than 6 decades, beginning in 1957. 10 years ago, our founder and board of directors made a pivotal decision. They determined that we would spend down all foundation assets and close out the foundation by the end of 2020, and we are on track to do so. This decision reflected a belief that California faces significant challenges today in education and the environment that will affect generations to come. To help create a better future for our state, the Foundation chose to do all of it can to address these problems sooner rather than later. This meant that we had to make choices about how to best use significant sums of money to address the great challenges of our state. As you might imagine, we asked ourselves questions such as where can we invest in meaningful change that can be achieved in our remaining years and that can be sustained after we close our doors. We know that the teachers are the single most important contributor to student achievement, and that is why we invest in high-quality teacher preparation. We have a special interest in enhancing the skills of new educators as they instruct students in ways that align with the state's math and science standards. Given what Marquita shared in her opening remarks about the scale and significance of the CSU, it was easy for us to see that we can have a large and enduring impact on California's education system and a resulting impact on the well-being of our state by investing in your teacher preparation programs. Our belief in CSU teacher preparation as a worthwhile investment has only grown through our experience. It's been a true privilege to partner with the CSU on the significant body of work we are now doing together to match the preparation of teachers with the needs of school districts and ultimately with the children of our state who vitally need and deserve quality instruction. I'll now turn to my colleague, Macy Parker, who along with Jana Luft has led the New Generation of Educators initiative for the Foundation.
Thank you, Susan, and a special thank you to Assistant Vice Chancellor Granot Shire. It's been my honor to work closely with you over the last 5 years to steward the S.D. Bechtel Jr. Foundation's more than $20 million investment in the CSU New Generation of Educators initiative. This initiative's success was driven in large part by the Office of the Chancellor, where tireless work, including by retired director Dr. Joan Bissell, who also joins us here today, ensured that data from the system's teacher preparation partnerships can inform continuous improvement. And the initiative's success was also driven by the leaders of your system's schools of education, who see as their ultimate clients the future CSU students now sitting in California's K-12 classrooms, whose families are relying on this system to prepare teachers who can realize the promise of public school education. We've been impressed by your system's recognition that teaching is hard, intellectually challenging work, and that success in the profession requires a great deal of practice. Your programs are increasingly prioritizing this practice through teacher residency partnerships that allow candidates the opportunity to apprentice with experienced mentors and practice their craft with support before they begin their careers. We have watched with interest the state's recent investment of $75 million in public funding for partnerships between school districts and teacher preparation programs, an investment that names and builds on in large part the success of your work. And as a recognition of our continued trust and belief in the power of CSU teacher preparation, we're very pleased to share that the Foundation's Board of Directors recently approved a new scholarship grant, the CSU Residency Year Scholarship, which will commence later this month. The scholarship will be initiated with a $3.1 million grant from this foundation, which will provide $10,000 to each of 300 aspiring teacher residents with demonstrated financial need. We hope this will allow these students to spend the time it takes to practice teaching, but it's only a start. Because we believe so much in the value of this work, we're also striving to identify other funders in the philanthropic or corporate sector, and we have at least one confirmed so far, who will support these residency scholarships after we close our doors. We have a wonderful steward in Marquita who will continue to lead this work. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan, Macy, and the entire SD Bechtel Jr. Foundation for your many years of support of CSU teacher preparation initiatives. Through your support, CSU campuses have prepared thousands of new teachers who will educate the next generation of Californians. Chair Taylor, this concludes the presentation. We are happy to answer any questions that the board may have at this time.
Great. Thank you very much for a terrific presentation. And members, if there's any doubt in how one can leverage philanthropy for outsized impact, here's a perfect example. I mean, 3.1 million is a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but I guarantee you the impact will be worth a lot more than that as these teachers get into the field and do their job. So members, what we're going to do, take board discussion now, and then we're going to invite our guests from Bechtel to go to the podium, and Chancellor will make a special presentation. So we're going to start with Trustee Steinhauser and then Trustee Morales.
Thank you, Trustee Taylor. First of all, I just want to say a couple thank yous. Number one, to Susan and the Bechtel Foundation, closing the achievement gap is the greatest civil rights issue of our lifetime, and hopefully we can do it. And I know we can with your help. You have been an unbelievable supporter of public education and teaching. And Nick is a great example because I have approximately 10 professional development sites in my district with partners with Cal State Long Beach. And I'm going to speak to you as not only the superintendent of a proud district, but as a father and an uncle, because my daughter went through the program and my niece went through the program, and all of them are hired in this district. And as Nick said, the power of this residency program, and to all of our presidents out here, and to all my K-12 colleagues, we need to do this throughout the state, because what we did was the collaboration that they did with our partners at the university and training my teachers and working as one unit. As Nick said, he had multiple mentors on that campus. We were then able to hire these young, bright people. They did tutoring for my students throughout the school year, so they had a whole paid experience. They worked Saturday schools also because we work these poor people to death. And then they were hired on. Every one of his peers were hired on as teachers in my district. And it's not by accident that the Learning Policy Institute just came out with a report last week and named several districts that were part of this initiative as those outliers, positive outliers in closing the achievement gap. And locally, Garden Grove and Long Beach were right here. So I can't thank you enough as a superintendent, but more importantly, as a father and uncle. I received my teaching credential in 1982 from Cal State Long Beach. I got a great experience. It is 10 times better today because of your work, Marquita, your work, and everyone out there. So I just want to thank you because what we do is God's work, and we are transforming lives for generations to come. So never, never give up the work. And thank you on behalf of my 72,000 students and my 3,600 teachers.
Bravo. Yes, indeed. All right, members, we'll go to Trustee Morales, followed by Trustee Carney.
Yeah, I just want to second that. Those thank yous. It's so important for philanthropy to focus on education and empower the new generations. I wanted to ask staff about whether there is a shortage of teachers in the areas of STEM and math in our state. And because I think we need to think about building the case for hopefully more supporters. So I was just wondering, is there a shortage? What's the demand? Thank you.
So the simple answer is yes, there is a shortage in STEM fields. And we've been working through a number of initiatives, primarily the Math and Science Teacher Initiative that was funded over a decade ago to increase the number of math and science teachers that we produce. We also, our colleges and schools of education, work really closely with their school districts to develop supplemental authorization programs to, again, increase the number. So when we look at our recruitment plans within the department and across the colleges and schools, we're focusing on STEM areas.
One of my concerns is, being from the Central Valley, is that our school districts, particularly in the small rural communities, have a difficult problem recruiting and retaining these teachers.
You're right. It is both a recruitment issue and a retention issue. And again, our schools of education work really closely with their school district partners, county offices of education, and system-wide entities, all focused on ensuring that we have a qualified and diverse pool of candidates to meet the needs. You're welcome.
Great. Trustee Carney?
I just want to add my thanks to Bechtel for getting this going. It was my pleasure to visit at both Fresno and Long Beach and see the students on the, at the school locations. And it's really a tremendous program. And as Bechtel spends down its money, and we hope the legislature continues to pick up the cost of this, I hope we can calculate what it actually costs on a per student basis to continue these kinds of residency programs, so that we have good information about the cost of expanding it. Thank you.
Very well. Chancellor White?
I just can't help but comment, Trustee Carney, that the cost would be higher to not have the program than it is to have the program.
Yeah, exactly right. Okay, at this time, Dr. Grunow-Shire, I'd like you to escort our guests, Ms. Parker, Ms. Harvey, Ms. Luft, to the podium.
Well, thank you, Trustee Taylor, and thank you to Susan and to Macy and to Jana for representing the S.D. Bechtel Jr. Foundation here today. As you've learned over the past decade, the partnership with these remarkable folks and their foundation has enabled us across the system to really transform teacher preparation while advancing our core values of diversity, of equity, and of inclusion. When you think about it, people have watched this also across the nation. And so not only have we had an effect here, but an impact across the nation as well. I think Bechtel Foundation really has been a cherished rainmaker in California. And by extension, storms that hit here always go east. So thank you for being that rainmaker. Through the generous giving, hundreds of Cal State students benefit each year from the clinically based teacher prep, empowering them with the skills, the knowledge, the grit, the swagger, the practical experience to survive in a 21st century classroom, which is different, Chris, than when you went to school. Just a little bit. For your forward-thinking gift to create a new residency year service scholarship program and to support our aspiring teachers in pursuing this noble profession. This is how legacies are built and sustained, through inspiration, through vision, through leadership, through courage, and through generosity. And as you prepare to close the doors, know that your giving has had a profound influence on us, an enduring impact on the Cal State universities and on the state of California. creating this ripple effect, as I said, that not only is here, but goes east as well. So to Susan, Macy, Jana, and the entire SD Bechtel Junior Foundation folks for your many years of partnership, we have a commendation for you with a series of whereases that you had presented to you for the last 15 or 20 minutes, but with a resolution by the Board of Trustees of the California State University expressed its profound appreciation to the SD Bechtel Junior Foundation leadership for its commitment to advancing educational opportunity. And I think that's the interesting thing for me, is the more I know who we are, there's talent everywhere, but there's not opportunity everywhere. And we're in the business of closing that gap. And I think this is an example with your rainmaker capacity and the great skill of our Cal State folks to actually get it done. Thank you very much. Everybody. For everybody. Let's cut it down a little bit. And then twist it so it doesn't shine. Thank you. Thanks so very much.
Very well. Thank you again to our friends from the Bechtel Foundation for your wonderful support. Members, before we transition to the next agenda item, as you know, we started a little bit early, and one of our public speakers got here on time, but not before we started. So I'm going to ask Mr. Hakobian to come to the microphone for his public comment. Mr. Hakobian.
Thank you, sir. My name is Ejmin Hakobian, and I want to share my opinion. I want to recognize the students that are graduating from the CSU, and I want to congratulate them. I also want to congratulate students who completed another academic year, especially at Cal State LA. I want to recognize the student leaders on our campus, both at ASI and leaders who've been actively pursuing removal of President Covino from our campus. And in March, they passed a resolution to remove President Covino, and it was a super majority. They pushed this resolution and took it to the Academic Senate, and the vote was 50-50. That's a major accomplishment for them, especially at a campus that's known for retaliating against students and faculty. There were a lot of problems, which I'm going to be speaking in more detail later on, but I want to recognize their leadership, their selflessness, their courage, something that I don't see here. And they are not going to be getting recognition from the campus presidents, obviously. I've gone through that. I know for a fact that they're not going to get that. But I want you guys to hear that there are although this board continuously ignores the systematic problems in the CSU and at Cal State LA, the student leaders selflessly and courageously work together, and they come from all backgrounds. We have trust fund babies on our campus, and we have homeless students on our campus. We have students, Native Americans, international students from Middle East, India, Asia, Europe, and it's a community that is under attack by our administration, and they have done everything to change that, the composition and the demographic of our campus through their policies. But I can guarantee you that the Chancellor's Office and President Covino, you will fail changing the demographic of our campus. These students are incredibly talented. They are incredibly motivated, and I ask them to stay involved with our those who are graduating and they are not subject to retaliations anymore. I encourage them to come to this board and speak their mind. And to those who are still on campus, I want to urge them to be very careful, as I know the campus will try to open judicial review or Title IX cases on them. Focus on your graduation, and we will be alumni, myself, and people who care about this campus that's been ignored by the CSU. They will be there to support you and help you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hakobian. Members, our final item will be an information on the CSU Institute for Palliative Care. We've got a real A-team of presenters here, so strap yourself into your seatbelts. Dr. Blanchard, our provost, Karen Haynes, the president of CSU San Marcos, our trustee emerita, Roberta Achtenberg, and Jennifer Ballantyne, executive director of the Institute for Palliative Care. Dr. Blanchard, please begin.
Thank you so much, Chair Taylor. The California State University currently has 9 multi-campus collaborations that address a breadth of topics ranging from agriculture and biotechnology to desert and ocean life. One such group is the CSU Institute for Palliative Care, which is located at the CSU San Marcos campus in partnership with CSU Fresno. Funded through program review, foundation grants, individual gifts, and an allocation from the Office of the Chancellor, the Institute is the only statewide effort focused on palliative care, workforce development, and education. To share more about palliative care and the Institute's role in training thousands of healthcare professionals to better care for individuals with serious and chronic illnesses, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce CSU San Marcos' president, Karen Haynes. Dr. Haynes?
Thank you, Executive Vice Chancellor Blanchard. As a system-wide institute, our goal is to leverage the CSU's strength in healthcare workforce development to fuel change in how healthcare is practiced in this nation. I'd like to acknowledge that the Institute is possible due to the vision and support of enterprising women who are with us today. Former trustee Roberta Achtenberg came to me with an idea, and Darlene Shiley stepped forward to help make the Institute a reality as its first philanthropic supporter. I want to also acknowledge the support of trustee Jean Furstenberg, who has recently engaged with us more deeply in this work. Palliative care is specialized medical care for people with serious illness, provided by a specially trained team of doctors, nurses, and other specialists. It is focused on enhancing quality of life and relieving pain, symptoms, and stress, not only for the patient, but for the family and caregivers as well. Palliative care often complements curative treatment, such as chemotherapy, radiation therapy, and surgical procedures. Hospice is palliative care for people with terminal illness. Palliative care is a rapidly growing field. The CSU is well positioned to address the accelerating need for healthcare professionals trained in palliative care. It is now my pleasure to invite Trustee Emerita Roberta Achtenberg to discuss the creation of the CSU Institute for Palliative Care. Roberta?
Thank you, Karen. President Haynes. Thank you, members of the Board of Trustees. As Karen said, I became familiar with palliative care sort of the hard way. I had a number of friends and family members who suffered from debilitating illness, and I and my family and family of friends felt not particularly capable of caring for them in ways that enhance their quality of life for as long as they lived. And in fact, the medical system seemed to be working against our every effort. Luckily for me and my family members, I had a dear friend who was a hospice nurse and very well schooled in the art of palliative care. She provided for me and my family a service for which I will always be grateful. Under her tutelage, we were able to assist our loved ones with pain management. We were able to care for them in humane ways that allowed them to live their lives with their fullest potential. until the end. And that was a gift that we were able to give as a result of me knowing this person who knew people who could help us. It seemed to me, as a trustee of this institution, which I was at the time, that the CSU, knowing as I did know, that the CSU trains well more than half of California's nurses, social workers, allied health professionals, and that in that training, it seemed to me, it should be possible for us to impart some of the skills that on our students and postgraduate training, those skills that made our family's ability to care for our loved ones so profound and so meaningful. So I thought, why don't I speak with President Haynes? She's a trained social worker, a recognized leader at CSU San Marcos. I had recently taken a visit to San Marcos as a trustee and witnessed her remarkable nursing program that she had so creatively figured out how to finance. And I thought, maybe I should talk with Karen about whether or not some kind of training institute might be possible in the CSU. Well, the result is what you will hear more about when Jennifer speaks. But I have to say that this has succeeded and become institutionalized far beyond anything I could have imagined. And it's been my honor and privilege to assist in any way that I can to help the Institute go forward. They've trained upwards of more than 10,000 students already, and the sky is the limit. And it's so needed. It's making the CSU a national leader in this area, which was also my hope. Jennifer?
Thank you. Thank you, Trustee Emerita Achtenberg. The CSU Institute for Palliative Care offers professional training, education, and awareness about palliative care. Our current healthcare professional education spans 142 courses developed according to best practices and high academic standards. The courses target all healthcare disciplines, and participants have the ability to earn certificates of completion and also to fulfill required continuing education hours. The Institute's online model helps ensure that participants in rural and underserved areas with the greatest need for palliative care trained professionals, are able to access the courses. The Institute also collaborates closely with large employers to meet their onboarding and professional development needs. For example, during the past year and a half, we have collaborated with the Department of Healthcare Services in California, or DHCS, to provide palliative care training to Medi-Cal providers. With $244,000 allocated by the state, DHCS approved 235 applicants who received more than 10,700 hours of training through Institute courses. This is, of course, only a drop in the bucket, but it's a beginning. Each year, the Institute holds an annual national symposium on academic palliative care education and research. The symposium is in its 5th year and is the only one of its kind in the country. Finally, the Institute is also focused on educating future healthcare professionals and communities about palliative care. To that end, we identify palliative care champions on CSU campuses and assist in creating campus partners. As noted, CSU Fresno is a partner, as is CSU Monterey Bay. The impact of the Institute is vast. Since our founding, staff and National Advisory Board members, working with about 150 instructors and subject matter experts, have delivered education to more than 300 healthcare organizations and reached more than 11,000 healthcare professional participants across the nation. Given that the average palliative care team works with about 1,000 patients and families in a given year, we estimate we have significantly improved quality of life for more than 11 million patients and families. But we aren't done growing. In the coming year, we have two exciting opportunities we are developing. We're launching an innovative partnership with the Supportive Care Coalition, a membership organization comprising 18 hospital systems. With the coalition, we are developing a total learning collaborative model that will entail helping health systems and organizations identify their needs, proposing an educational solution either from our current courses or from custom development, delivering that education, and then, most importantly, evaluating the outcomes. This approach will propel us and our partners into an entirely new conception of professional training, and we believe demonstrate real improvements in patient care through education. Next is the Palliative Care and Hospice Education and Training Act, fondly referred to as PACHETA. This is federal legislation which, if passed, will authorize up to $20 million a year for 5 years specifically to support national expansion of palliative care education, faculty preparation, and research. I'll now return to President Karen Haynes for her closing thoughts.
Thank you, Jennifer. While palliative care is a new specialty, its approach represents, in fact, the heart of healthcare, ensuring comfort, supporting patients' goals, and caring for the whole person and family. It has the potential to radically remake not just serious illness care, but all of healthcare. Aligned with the CSU's orientation toward bold initiatives that directly impact our state's culture, economy, and future, the CSU Institute for Palliative Care is working to increase access to palliative care training and education while continuing to position the Institute as the national choice for palliative care education and a leader in healthcare transformation. Chair Taylor, that concludes the presentation. Alongside Dr. Blanchard, Jennifer, Roberta, and I sit able and willing to answer any questions. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you very much. What a great program. Members, will start with Trustee Furstenberg for the first question.
I can't think of anything more important than we can do as a system than to support this program, extend this program, and continue what we really do best here at California State University, lead the nation. All of us are impacted throughout our lives by moments then we really need this program. So I cannot thank you enough for launching it, giving it to us as a model for what we should be doing throughout this country. And I just want to urge every single campus to embrace this program and really make it part of the entire CSU. You cannot do anything more important for each and every one of us. And thank you for presenting this in such a brilliant way. Jennifer, what do you think as a system we can do? What's the most important thing we can do going forward? When you talk about the federal government getting involved, we just came back from Washington where all of us really related to the entire California delegation. The delegation can be helpful to this. You know, tell us the things we need to do to help you do your job even better.
Thank you very much for that support. We do need it. I think the most important thing, well, our mission is threefold. We educate current healthcare professionals, which we're doing very well. We are also intending to educate future healthcare professionals because that's really where the future of the field sits, and then their surrounding communities. We rely on our campus partners to do two of those three things, the future professionals and the community education. Our Campus Partner Program started out with a very informal agreement, and we had a number of campuses join in and do great work for several years. Some of them have moved on to other initiatives. Several of them have stayed and continue to do great work. But it's 3 out of 23, and I would really encourage other campuses to think about how they might partner with us. The bar to standing up a Institute for Palliative Care at your campus is pretty low. We offer a lot of support from the main institute. And to that end, we did have, in light of this PCHETA legislation, I did a webcast a couple of weeks ago to a number of interested campuses. We sent out a survey in April to the schools of nursing, schools of social work, public health, gerontology, et cetera, and inquired, were they interested to know more? 13 of the 23 campuses replied yes, and half of them were on the webcast just last week at a busy time of year. So we will definitely be following up with those who have expressed interest. My dream for this is that the CSU is the national leader in palliative care education, and if we can get every graduate with some substantial knowledge of palliative care and a skill set, it would be transformative for not only for the state, but the nation. So thank you.
Trustee Furstenberg, Trustee Taylor, if I may just interject. When I first came here as chancellor, President Haynes pulled me aside and asked for some money. And I go, okay, I've been on the job a couple months, and here's this long-serving, successful president taking advantage of the new kid on the block. So I did what a new chancellor should always do, and that is sort of say, oh, it's an interesting idea, let me think about it. And then Trustee Achtenberg pulled me aside maybe 3 or 4 months later and said, Tim, I think maybe you should probably come down and take a look at the Institute of Palliative Care at San Marcos when you do your visits. And I said, well, Trustee Achtenberg, recognizing she was now a part of my boss team, I said, it's a thoughtful suggestion, which we will follow up on. And then I met Darlene Shiley. And I go, okay, we're going to fund this thing. And so it initially started on some foundation funds to pay for the infrastructure of its management. But we did transfer in perpetuity $300,000 in that year's dollars to invest in that infrastructure that supports the leadership of the campus for the system. And so we do have a nickel in the game, and then we'll rely on other resources to continue it. So just wanted you to know that there is a system commitment to the success of this as well that emerged back in the day.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
I have Trustee Eisen who wanted to ask a question.
No, I want to say something, though.
Okay, go right ahead.
First of all, I want to say what an incredible pleasure it is to hear the voice of Trustee Achtenberg around this horseshoe again. For those of us who had the pleasure of serving with her, it is a interesting, deep, and wise voice that we were all privileged to hear for many years. I heard about the palliative care program when I was a trustee in the beginning. And it reminded me, I used to work at a research institute, and we learned something called the critical incident technique, a way of understanding a larger data set from a small sort of critical incident. And when I was getting my master's at SF State in literature, we called it epiphanies, these small James Joycean moments that illuminate the whole. And this palliative care program is one of those epiphanies that demonstrate and illuminate what the CSU is about. Taking the passion and the curiosity and the interest of a trustee and connecting that up with the power of our presidents and their care and their willingness to entertain creative ideas, and then building, by running to the chancellor for money or however it can be done, and working with our faculty and our staff to make these things happen for the benefit of communities, as Trustee Furstenberg just I mean, it is a glorious example of how a small moment truly illuminates and uplifts us all. Thank you.
Terrific. Closing comments on your end, Dr. Blanchard and team, or? Very well. Well, thank you very much. Members, I think, and Dr. Chancellor White, I think, perfect example of when you think about on-the-ground impact, that graduate program in forensic anthropology that's bringing closure to victims of the campfire, teacher training that's now best in the nation, this palliative care program that's changing healthcare. This isn't theoretical mumbo-jumbo academic stuff, man. This is on-the-ground impact, and we're driving it. We are the people leading the charge here, and CSU should be very proud of that fact.
Trustee Taylor, it is based in research. So it's not void of the intellectual inquiry of our faculty and our students and the necessary experimentation, if you will, but it is, I always pause at the word applied research because it's usually an acronym meaning lesser quality. And quite frankly, there's an ag term that begins with bull and finishes with 4 more letters about that. It's really directed research, directed to a societal, an environmental, an economic, a political, a social, et cetera, issue that confronts society. And it has a different sort of genesis by which that research and inquiry is done. And it may not have the same level of clarity that a double-blind study would have with a bunch of Wistar rats that you can put some in a food group and some in a running group and some in a, et cetera. But it does get it roughly right and directionally correct and on the ground. And then when it's on the ground, then you make the modifications for it to be more successful. And I'm incredibly impressed with the importance, especially for a guy who grew up in the R1 environment. This stuff really matters.
Very well. Trustee Day, that concludes the Committee on Educational Policy 10 minutes early.
Thank you, Chair Taylor. Thank you to everyone associated with the Institute and all your good work.